Okay, let's see if I can do a little better job than I did yesterday. The volume was really bad and camera pretty shaky. Not sure if I can do much about that, but I will try to speak louder and hold this camera a little steadier. It's about 8:39 in the morning. So yesterday I went into Safeway. I was waiting for the bus. Had like 10 minutes before the bus was going to arrive, so I went into Safeway. I just didn't really need anything. Just kind of went in and kind of looked around, see if there was anything I needed really quick. Couldn't think of anything, and I was leaving and walking by checkout, and I overheard a lady at the checkout talking to the cashier about how unhealthy it is to wear a mask. And she was checking out, and so I kind of stopped and waited for her to finish up and started up a conversation with her, and went on to tell her that yes, it is very unhealthy to wear a mask, cause hypoxia, tooth loss, gum disease. Lack of oxygen can cause irreversible brain damage. And she was nodding her head the whole time, and she started to get a really big smile. And she then jumped in and started talking to me about viruses and what a virus actually is. And it just made my day. She started off with viruses are made in your body, by your body, for your body, and cannot live outside your body. And then corrected herself and said, actually, they're not even alive. It's ribosomal material that's exiting the cell, which is why they're called exosomes. Hence, ribosome material exiting the cell, ribosomes, exosomes. And I was just, I tried to keep a straight face. I didn't want her to know that I was just elated hearing what she had to say, because I wanted to just kind of seem unbiased. And she went on for about, 5-10 minutes, and it was just awesome. And she was speaking very loud, and she was very passionate, and she was probably, in her early 50s, and she finished talking about viruses, and I was just like, oh my goodness, it's so nice to meet you. We introduced each other, we exchanged numbers, email addresses. We then went on to talk right there in Safeway for at least another 20 minutes, and we talked about all kinds of things. We talked about what was going on with the riots, what our thoughts were about the coronavirus and the whole agenda behind that, vaccines, germ theory, psyops involving the police. We touched, really quickly on just about everything except, flat Earth and Mandela effect. But I'm pretty sure she's probably on board with those. It was just, gosh, man. I told her, this is therapeutic it's so therapeutic for people like yourself and me to run into each other and have these conversations. And she just agreed. It's like we knew each other. It wasn't like we just met. There was definitely like a fellowship. It was just, oh God, it was so amazing. And I told her, I can't, we're going to get together. And I told her it's like, I could sit and talk to you for hours. And she agreed. We were all over the place. We were talking about Tartaria and false history and, exchanging information on different channels that we follow and like what kind of personal research that we're both into right now. And it was just so exciting, whereas most people talk about what's going on in the news or their favorite television show, maybe catching up somebody that missed an episode, and there was none of that. I think I brought up one thing regarding television, and that was I think I brought up Brad Pitt and 12 Monkeys, and I can't remember. She said something very similar to a line he said in the movies, but it's it was a lot of fun. And I afterwards, throughout the day, thought about it more and more, our conversation, and how it affected me in my day, and how my interactions with other people were affected. My compassion level for people that are less woke was so much higher. And I guess what I'm kind of saying is this is you need to have these conversations, seek out people. Don't be afraid to stop in the store if you have the extra time. If you hear somebody speaking, and it could have been just the opposite. She could have been talking about how we need to be wearing masks, and I should have, spent a few moments and stopped then to try to inform her, at least direct her to the information on what the Surgeon General came out saying a couple weeks ago on wearing masks. But this is how the real virus spreads, and that being truth. People were walking by, and they were paying attention. We were about 10-15 feet away from coffee people, or I think it's Seattle's Best, the coffee shop inside Safeway, and the guy at the counter was listening, and people stopping, getting their coffee, and were listening, and we were, in order to enter or exit Safeway, you pretty much had to go by us, because there's only one door you can go in now, one door in, one door out, and it's like domino effect, or the rolling snowball down the hill, and how it builds momentum, and it affected my entire day. I ended up later that day, I've been going to this bar that's closed that has great outside seating, and their Wi-Fi is accessible, and I go there and sit, and I'll use the internet outside, bring my laptop, and it's one of the benefits of what's going on. It's closed, and it's nice and peaceful, and it was just beautiful out. And there was a guy there that I've seen a couple other times, And we started talking, and he had very similar views on what's going on. And I'm going to go this way this time. I didn't go down here yesterday. And maybe it was like my aura or energy that I was putting off from my earlier encounter that kind of gave him the comforting feeling or to come up and start talking to me about what's going on, because it was just very random. He couldn't see my screen because of the daylight, so he had no idea what I was looking at. And he just kind of came up and was like, there was people walking by in their masks, and he said something about, can you pinch me? Am I actually here? And that was it. That's all it took, and we were off to the races. I even brought up flat Earth, which he said he had looked into it but didn't think was real. But we talked about that for about half an hour, and I gave him some pretty good information and told him he had said how he was going to look into it again. And I said, well, it's very hard to find accurate information now, with the search algorithms being changed on YouTube and all the disinformation. And he was like, well, what do you mean? So I kind of went into how Flat Earth Society and how they're kind of a catch-all controlled opposition and how that works. And once I really laid that foundation out of like the ridiculousness of Flat Earth Society and how people, I think that's where he might have went actually his first time, and it just made perfect sense to him. Like, yeah, that actually makes sense. This would be something, if such a massive lie, of course they would have something like that in place, and he'd never thought about that. And I told him, that's kind of how it is with most things. Mandela effect, you got your surface crap, just let alone the name Mandela effect. He really, what's this right here? This is kind of clue box 1. Oh, this is there must be, there's something going on here. It's like a geo tracking thing. That's cool. I want to open it to see what's in it, but I won't. Troop 41877, clue box number 1. Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, there's a big paperwork in there, a note. So we'll leave that right there. So cool. Yeah, I did Boy Scouts when I was young. I don't think it is what it was then. But I got a lot out of it, and I wasn't a dork. Well, maybe I was. I was a spaz, I'll tell you that much. Gosh. Anyways, so I just think, that's kind of how the world works. It's like a week ago I met, there was 2 people sitting at the bus stop, a man and a woman, and I'd sneezed and she said, bless you. And then a couple minutes later I asked, can I ask you a question? She said, sure. And I was like, do you wear a mask when you get on the bus? Because they've recently made masks mandatory on public transportation here, even though I still don't wear one. And she was, oh gosh, no. She's like, we don't wear masks. And we started talking, and they were very awake. But my point is I have never seen these people before. And after that conversation, throughout the last week, I've seen her name is Elizabeth, like 3 or 4 times. And I think 2 of those times she was with Andrew, her partner. But just, it's like once you have a connection, it's like there's an attraction. And you know, it's weird how like the very next day, like I was walking into Fred Meyer's and she was coming out right when I was walking in, and it was just like, what is the odds of the timing for that? Never, you know, and maybe I have seen her before, but you know, I'm just not aware of it because you don't, you know, you're not familiar with the person. But yeah, so we stopped, and you know, I remember talking again, and so since then I've seen them, like I said, 3 or 4 times, and it's been really nice. But yeah, I just think that it's so healthy for everybody to have these conversations, even if it's somebody that's completely, like I said, disagrees and is like really triggered. You know, if you can stay calm and you know, at least they'll know that there's other people out there that don't agree with what's going on, and the seed's been planted. They, you know, I'm pretty. I don't really care what people think, and if they think I'm a wacko, so I kind of lay it all out there. But yeah, so that was really cool, meeting the lady at Safeway and meeting Elizabeth and her partner Andrew the other day. And I also I go to it's called the Whole Bowl, and it's really good food. $7, you get like brown rice, black beans, avocado, sour cream, and this, I forget the name of this yellow sauce, and then a cheese if you want it, and onions and cilantro. It's just really good. But like I go there all the time, and I always pay cash, and she, you know, she has to wear the mask, but she thanked me the other day. She's like, thank you for paying in cash. And I was like, are you being serious, or like, are you kidding? She's like, no, I'm being serious. Like, this whole thing with, you know, the money's dirty and is just ridiculous. And she's like, I only wear the mask because I have to, and my boss feels the same way as I do, but you know, we're serving food, and it's kind of a cart style. The one on Hawthorne here is like a small shop, but they have like 1 or 2 other places, and they're carts, and so they wear the mask because, you know, they might lose business. There are people that, hey, I'm not going there. These people are serving food and they're not wearing masks. You know, they're not wearing masks. You know, I'm not going to go there, so I'm going to skip going there and just go straight down to the riots and mingle with thousands of people that aren't social distancing, and get right in front of those cops' face that none of them happen to be wearing masks today. Yeah. What a clown world. Yeah, so, you know, all these protests, and, you know, nobody's getting sick. You know, I think yesterday I heard it's 0.004 or 0.0004. I don't know. A lot of zeros after that point, to the right of the point. And it's people still, you know, because that's kind of like my fallback. I say to people, it's like, well, if you know, you don't believe me, you know, you got to at least believe that, and you believe them. That means you believe their numbers, and then their numbers, they don't lie, the numbers. So, well, they do actually, because it's less than what they tell us. But even so, it's like, you know, the numbers tell you that you're more likely to drop dead from the seasonal flu than good old COVID. So that's kind of, this is really nice down here. Sometimes I come down here and eat. I love this bench, how it's just all tattered. Sit down here by the water. So I guess the governor of Oregon, like, she has called in the National Guard. I haven't seen any National Guard, but I'm assuming they're probably downtown. And I don't know, part of me wants to actually see National Guard on our streets, because it's just such a so foreign to me to think, I've never seen anything like that. I saw it on TV or on YouTube this morning, the National Guard walking around in LA, and they kind of looked like it was just, it was all kind of for show. Like, here we are. Some of them had masks on, a lot of them didn't. But they were carrying firearms, which is always just very strange to think, here's Americans, National Guard, that probably they have other jobs and they've probably been called up. Their training is terrible, most likely, and they are walking down the street with what looks like automatic machine guns. And how frightening. Talk about the potential for an accident or something to happen, or for someone to get shot. Which is kind of why yesterday I had said it's really important to think before you react, because it could get you hurt or even killed these days. So, crazy times. Oh, let's check this out. They've got some kind of trap laid out. I think it's for like beaver or a muskrat or something they're trying to catch. And then, so I was watching some of the protests from, I think it were from yesterday, and there was a gentleman, use that word lightly, standing on the sidewalk as people were walking down the streets, and he had a big stick slung over his shoulders and was mean mugging all the protesters. And I just thought, well, here's a guy with not too intelligent, extremely low IQ. Like, this is how you get hurt. He was a big guy, but he was very soft looking, and he just, what a moron. I mean, why would you do that? What possibly good could come from you having a giant stick slung over your shoulders, over both shoulders, with his arms kind of slung over him, like in this like very offensive posture? What possible good could come of that? And protesters were stopping and having words with him, flipping him off, and he was flipping them back off, and just not too intelligent. I don't believe in Darwinian evolution, but if I did, I would definitely think, he would have fall prey to that whole theory by now. But yeah, so, I mentioned yesterday about a really triggering banner that I had seen saying, Stop White Silence, Black Lives Matter, and how I had said something, and like, that's ill-advised, me doing that. Like, what, like I'd mentioned, that was for me. A release for me obviously wasn't going to do any good to them, and it could only cause harm in that situation. So see, I'm growing every day, even at my age. I tell you, man, I make very direct, and I don't think a lot before I speak and say things, and I'm constantly misunderstood, especially, unfortunately, like in the truther community. I think there's people that really kind of misunderstood certain things I've said. Some of the bigger channels too, and it sucks because I follow them and really like them, but what do you do? Matter of fact, like a long time ago, there was a guy, let's just say not his first name, but he went by something Poncho, and then his name. And I remember being in his chat, and he told everyone I was a CIA operative, and I was quite shocked to see how quickly everybody in the chat just turned on me, and immediately I was a villain, and I received lots of bad comments and on my channel, and hell, I only had 44 subscriptions. And the name of my channel, I go by a different name now because I think people are like super triggered by the name. Like they think, oh, who's this guy? He's awful full of himself. Look at his name. Like, and then I realized kind of the name I have now maybe be kind of similar. It's like kind of like, yeah, like I know it all or something. Or, I don't know. I could just be overreacting. I'm rambling on here. But anyways, so it's it's important to like not just condemn people. Like, this may sound pathetic, but it's actually really been hurtful to me, because online, YouTube especially, is like one of the only places I have to go to be with people that have the same thoughts and ideas as me and to be blackballed from that community or cold shouldered, it's hurtful. Think of you, especially those of you that are super involved in that community, and all of a sudden one day everyone just blocks you, stops talking to you. Just think about that for a minute and how that would feel. Very hurtful. So people need to be forgiving, and they need to understand that, especially in chat, you can't read people's tone, and things can be misunderstood. And a real truther doesn't, I don't agree with anybody entirely on any topic. And I've noticed that as well. Like, if you don't agree with something, a lot of times you'll just, you get attacked, especially if you're just talking in the chat field, which I've gotten better to not do that when I disagree with things, because people do kind of freak out, and you're going against the community. Yeah, get this guy out of here. It's very strange. It's like, it shows to me kind of a lack of growth. And I see big names in the community do this in live streams, where they will completely disagree with somebody that's on the phone, or like it's in their a guest, and they'll kind of pussyfoot around disagreeing with them. Like they, you know, because of this mass spell that's been put on people of being politically correct and not offending anyone. And so without them even knowing, they do this. And people like me that are still like from the old school world where you can voice your opinion and that's okay, and you know, we're often looked at as like a troublemaker, or you know, just somebody that you don't need to be here, you disagree. And yeah, so just kind of maybe remember to be forgiving of people. And you know, I'll put comments in chat directed towards people, and like I won't get a response, like and it's like deliberate, because the comment right before mine or right after mine will get, you know, a response. And of course that's going to happen sometimes, but when it happens all the time, it is, I mean, it shouldn't be, but it does, it kind of hurts. It makes me feel like, okay, they've all been talking and someone said certain things about me, and you know, I can only think of actually one thing that I've done that was completely misunderstood, and the person hung up on me on the phone, and I was so upset, and because I'd called into a show, and that's the only thing. And that person has then got on and said, oh, this person this, and it involved the Mandela effect, and it was not what it sounded like or what that person thought, and they hung up on me. And this is like probably the biggest Mandela effect channel, one of them. He's really good. Yeah, like it's a really good channel, and he really lays it out there. Yeah, I don't want to say his name because then people will think I'm bad mouthing him, you know. But like, man, he does amazing work, and he's always on, and he's quite a character, but he's a real person, you know. Like he gets angry, he gets upset, he gets sad, he gets happy. He's genuine, and that is what he did with me was genuine. But he didn't understand certain things that, you know, not everybody knows everything about the Mandela effect. At the time, I didn't understand that things long time ago could change. Like my VHS or my family's VHS cassette could change. And like, yeah, I don't, anyways, I need to stop talking about that. Okay, but, so this is what, you know, my morning walk I've been doing once again. It's pretty awesome. Love it. And like I said yesterday, everybody should find a place to go that makes them feel good and gives them energy and hope. And yeah, this is the place for me. Sometimes I'll come down here like right before dark, and by the time I'm done walking, it is dark, and that's when all the wildlife comes out. See raccoons. I'm pretty sure I saw a fox or a coyote down here, which I don't know how the heck it got down here, because I am in the inner city. I guess it could have followed the creek bed up. That does go down to the Willamette River and Clearwater Corridor. But early in the morning and then late at night is a great time to come down here. Yeah, so I usually wake up and I have my breakfast. I eat steel cut oatmeal with 2 big huge tablespoons of peanut butter and a little bit of brown sugar. I have an orange, a half an apple, 2 soft-boiled eggs. Make sure I drink at least like close to 16 ounces of water, and then I have my cup of coffee. And that's how I try to start my day off. Like, it's so important to eat well, healthy, especially in the morning. Oh, New Earth channel. The New Earth channel. I just found that channel, and it's really cool. And the reason why I brought it up, she's got a video on caffeine and on coffee that I thought was really good. But she's got these amazing videos on these caves cut out of rocks that are super small, like for like dwarfs or elves or well, I guess elves are now 6 foot tall. When I was a kid they were little, but or fairies that live there, and it's really cool. But she's got some really good stuff. And then I've also been watching a lot of John Levi's stuff. His voice, I just love his voice. It's just like, yeah, kind of reminds me of the Bueller. Yeah, John Levi, good channel. He goes into a lot of our fake history, Tartarian, maybe kind of mud flood stuff. In my mud flood, I'm not convinced. I'm on the fence. There's a lot of evidence for it, but it's definitely not concrete. I definitely think that our history has been covered up, and past civilizations have been covered up, but I don't know. I don't know if, about the mud flood. I mean, there's definitely been mud floods, but I'm on the fence with that one. Who does good stuff? Oh, Martin, I want to say Lidke. I'm saying his last name wrong. He does really good stuff. Hey, Martin, you'll never see this, but whatever. Shorten your videos down. Home slice. Truth Seeker 69. She does like really what I call like she like researches like a lot of research. Like, it's really good. Like, I've noticed like she'll break down what looks like a lot of information, that she'll learn something and then she'll go research on what she's learned, like do her own research. And that is what people should be doing. It's like, YouTube's great. You can learn all this stuff from watching these videos that people do research, but then you need to then do your own research on that. Piggybacking off of what other people have already done. And she does amazing research. Like, she'll learn a bunch of stuff, and then she goes and tries to verify it for herself. It's really good. So there you go. You watch some videos on something, say mud flood, then you go watch Truth Seeker, which it's like the second level of research, and then you go do your own research. So you're really getting these. Yeah, it's like boom, boom, boom. She's fun to watch. Morning. Yeah, and then she has Steve JMO, which I kind of laughed when I first saw his name, because JMO kind of is a abbreviation for something. But I don't think that's what he had it for, but it's funny. But those guys are friggin' awesome, dude. They break stuff down really well, and they are a perfect example of what people should do and how people, how you get information off of the internet or YouTube or whatnot, and then what you do next. So if you don't know how you should be doing your own research and stuff, like watch her channel, because it's a great example of taking advantage of all the free research people do and then doing your research on top of that. Magnificent. All right, well, I'm done. I'm getting back towards the park side. All right, I'm out.